Yeah, there is a micro with the 3 to 8 chip, and you have to buy a separate program to program that. This is with the 3 to UFO, and I'm not sure if this is available right now. I think this is discontinued, but sometimes you can find these things on eBay or AliExpress and still buy them. This is a Gemma, this is a wearable. So you can see like there are some less input and output pins, but it is really small. So maybe you can wear this on your raincoat. I have seen some projects like that. So there is a reason it won some award, maybe I think the last year. So one guy from Brazil had made a device that is attached to his cycling uniform, cycling kit. So when he is turning the bike to left, there is a signal light indicator type of thing glowing on his left shoulder, and when he turns to the right, there is a signal light glowing on his right shoulder. So there is a nice indication, and there was a red light on his helmet. When he brakes, that red light comes on and indicates that he is braking to the very nice. So this is one advantage. This is Arduino Lillipad. It has much more peripherals, but still it's really small. So it is also wearable. So these are what I was talking about before, Arduino shields, right? So there are two different sets of things that we can connect to Arduino. First one is the shields and other thing is the modules. A shield you can plug directly onto the Arduino, and it is going to take power from the Arduino and send signal back to the Arduino without any problem. But if you are using a module, I think we have some modules. I will show you some pictures. So for these things, you can just plug into the Arduino board and use it, right? So this is a motor driver. You can plug this into the Arduino board and connect your motors here and use it. And this is a GSM shield. You can put your SIM card to this, and it connects to the internet and hopefully the GPRS signal. And you can maybe build a data logger, right, with the GPS coordinates. And this is a Arduino SD card shield. This takes SD card and a battery, and there is a battery because there is a RTC module inside this thing. An RTC module is a real-time clock, so that can input the exact time to the Arduino, so we can log data with the time. So the other interesting thing is these shields can be stacked upon one another. So 3 volts, but if we are going to use a lot of sensors, we are going to need a separate power supply for sure. And this stands for analog inputs. So analog input means right. So with analog inputs, you can include a micro potentiometer and turn that and give that signal to the Arduino. Just like you turn the volume knob of a radio in your home, right? So that is familiar. And digital I/O ports. Digital I/O ports are divided into two sections. The pins with the really small curly sign in front of, we call them the PWM enabled pins, right? We will go into deeper later. So anyway, digital I/O ports, digital outs means there are only two states for output. It can be high or it can be low, and that's it, right? There is no intermediate step like the analog. But when we need to dim LED, we cannot do that. So we are going to use PWM. So that is where this curly sign comes in. With that, you can dim LED. So I will explain how that works with practicals later. Right now, we are not going to discuss that. So this is the power on LED, and this is the TXRX LED. So it indicates if we are uploading the program, right? So this LED right here is connected to the 13th pin, so we can test really quickly. This is the reset button. Most of the people ask, if they press this button, is the program going to be erased? No, it is not going to erase. It just resets, and it's going to execute from the beginning. That's it. And this is the barrel jack. You can plug your 9-volt supply here and use it, right? So this is the Arduino IDE. There are two, and there is offline and online IDE. We prefer to use the offline one. It's really easy. And yeah, that's it. You can go to this URL and maybe search Arduino IDE, and it is a free software to download. And there are Linux and Mac OS Windows versions available. We are using Windows. I'm using Windows. So if you are using a Mac or Linux environment, by the next week, please download and install these things and maybe open them and try to open them without having any errors. If you are going to have any errors, please contact us. We will help you to resolve those errors, right? So these are some facilities or some tools that is granted freely from the Arduino IDE. Usually we get error messages when we type something wrong, and when we compile something, I will tell you what is compiling and what is uploading. When we try to upload to the board, if there is error, it will tell us there is error, and we have to find that. And it will, most of the time, it will show us where the error is by highlighting that particular error, but yeah, we have to adjust that manually. And yeah, this is a really nice thing. This is called the Arduino serial plotter. So in this, you can have like a small visualization of the signals you are dealing with in the Arduino. It's not super accurate, but it's helpful. And there is another thing called the serial monitor that visualize the data by numbers numerically. That is also sometimes helpful. We are going to use all these things, so don't worry if you don't understand any of these things right now. I am just going to tell you all these things so you know what is coming up next, and at least to make you interested about the subject. I hope you are all are interested right now. So this is the elements of the Arduino IDE. So this is called a tab. This is where we open our sketch, and you can have multiple tabs and connect. Maybe you can even interconnect them. And this is the verify button. If we press this after typing a code, it is going to tell us if we are doing that correctly or incorrectly. When we press this, it is going to upload. This is the new sketch. This is the upload. I think is the open upload button and save button. This is the button to open the serial monitor. This is where it gets the errors and stuff for the board connected is displayed here, and this is where we get the error messages. So in the Arduino board, in the Arduino IDE, I will open my Arduino IDE and show you all these things later. So you have to select the board, select the port, and then upload. So it connects the USB and upload. So here is how you connect the board. If you cannot find your board here, you can go to the device manager and refresh that and try. So you are going to run into these problems eventually, but we are going to figure them out. So don't worry about these things right now. So yes, so I'm sorry, still I hear some noises. Please turn off your microphones and videos possibly. So when you go to the Arduino IDE, and there is a in the help tab there is a section called the reference. So if you go to reference, you can find all the code words, structure words, variables, functions, and stuff. And in the website, they have detailedly described how they are going to work. So if you forget something, it's really easy. This works even in offline mode, and you can go there and look at them and understand how it works. Yes, so this is what I told you before. This is the basic Arduino programming structure, right? We have the setup, we have the loop. In the setup, we type the stuff, we tell the stuff that should happen only once. Maybe we want to set the 10th pin as the output. So that should happen just once, and we don't want it to happen repeatedly, right? So that doesn't make any sense. So we put that here, and there are some things that we need to like do repeatedly. So those things we type in the loop. So I will demonstrate this with the live example so you can understand that. Right now, this is where it gets interesting. So this is our first practical. Right now, we cannot show you the practical, but in the next week we will demonstrate the live practical. I will do this practical. Maybe if you have your boards and IDE set up, you can do the practicals with us. From the next week on, we are going to do these things, right? So this is the basic first example. This is called the blink example. Sometimes this is referred on the internet as the blinky example. So these things, these gray stuff, those are called comments, right? So they do not interfere with the program in any way. So it is, even if you delete this thing, it doesn't matter. So this is called a comment, and this is the setup. Once we type void setup, we put these two brackets and open the curly bracket, close it, and between those curly brackets, we type the things that we want to happen just once, right? So LED built in, that is the default LED that I showed you here. So I think you can see this. Sorry. So this is the LED that is connected to the 13th pin, or you can connect one to the 13th pin. And if you don't like this LED built-in thing, you can delete this thing and maybe type 30, type 10, 12, or anything like that, and connect the LED to that pin. And after that, and after, if you change here, you have to change these things too, obviously. And in the loop, we type the things that we want to happen repeatedly, right? So this is really easy to understand. Don't think too much, right? So pin mode, right? Pin mode, that is the mode of the pin. So we want the mode of the pin to be an output. Fairly easy. So this argument can just take two things, right? This may be an input, this may be an output. For right now, we are using an LED, so an LED is definitely a flow. So then again, we are going to say, okay, now stay turned off for 1 second, right? Now this is how this works. So the LED turns on, stays on for 1 second, then turns off, stays off for 1 second. If you want to change the speed, the only thing you have to do is just change these two numbers. If you want to maybe rapidly turn this on and off, maybe you can put 100 here and it's going to turn on and off really quickly. So this is what I told you. So let's count the lines here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like with 8 lines, if you type 8 lines here, you can easily turn on and off LED, and even you can adjust the timing, right? But if you were to do this with analog electronics or digital electronics, it is really hard. It is not that hard actually, but that is not applicable and that is not usable for everyone. I think I'm making sense. I'm just justifying that how beneficial learning these things are. So that's it. Now this is the first program, right? So from now on, we are going to do the practicals. So we just have to learn some stuff about programming and electronics. So let's see them. This is the LED. So this is a through hole LED. That means we have two pins. There are two pins, of course. So this is a diode. So we have an anode and the cathode. This is the symbol. I think you might get this presentation. Yeah, I have to answer one question. Yes, we can use a virtual environment for the practicals, but I'm not sure what you refer by virtual environment. But from the next week, we are going to set up another camera and do the practicals on our lab and show you them. Today, I will show you some equipment and stuff that are needed to do these practicals. And yeah, if you have any more questions, please do ask. I'm sorry. So, right. So this is a symbol, and right now, right here, we have a resistor. The use of this resistor is to limit the current flowing into the diode, the LED. So there is a little bit of calculation to configure this value that comes from the Ohm's law. I will teach you and show you how to do that. It's not really hard. These are really basic stuff, but even if you haven't heard about these things before, it's really fine. As I told you before, this whole thing, this whole environment thing, the Arduino and these things are meant not for engineers, not for technical people. This is just initially introduced for artistic people, right? So you do not have to have any technical background. Most of the students that are with maybe juniors and seniors, they are just with us because they are interested. If you are interested in this thing, you are going to do just fine. So don't worry about anything. If you have any questions, um, please do ask. Yes, about the breadboard, that's a good question. So in a breadboard, I can show you right here. Let me annotate. In a breadboard, so this line from here, these are disconnected, but these dots are connected in this way, right? Like this, and these are connected like this. That means if you supply current here, you can take that current from here, right? So there is a connection under, there is a copper strip under, but you cannot supply current here and maybe take that from here. It doesn't work this way. It just connects in these vertical lines. So that is what is here done. So this black line that is connected here, this is connected all the way here, this is here. So that's how the current flows, and this does not connect like this, right? And that is about these two sections, but in the others, these connects in this way, right? These connects horizontally but not vertically. I hope that's making sense. When we do the practicals, I will show you more. Yeah, that's it. It's really simple. So yeah, this is what I was talking about. How to change the blinking rate, how fast you can change the blinkiness of the LED. So there is a limit actually we can do that, because at some point the human eye cannot detect the blinking. So actually we can go really fast with the Arduino, right? So it is not like dimming the LED, like dimming the LED, maybe reducing the brightness of the LED is a different subject. We are going to do that hopefully in the next week. So right now we are dealing with how to blink one LED. So I hope I have explained that well enough. The calculation with this resistor, that I will demonstrate later, because that calculation changes from LED to LED because of the color of the LED. Usually red LEDs are the ones that draw the least amount of current, and usually greens are the LEDs that draws the most of the current. So that is a general rule of thumb. That is not dead accurate, uh, but that's a start. So keep that in mind also. So this is a traffic light system. You can easily program this with one Arduino. So yes, the traffic light system. Let's discuss a bit more about that. With the traffic light system, let's say we have three LEDs: red, yellow, and green. We can we can have separate functions for this. We are going to do this practical later. We can program this traffic light system in different ways, right? I mean, program wise, in the program architecture wise, we have many different ways of achieving the same results. Even for the blinky sketch, even for blinking one LED, this is not the only way to do that, right? So that digital high, digital low, this is not the only way to do this. This is the basic level. There are more advanced ways to do this, but we are not going to them right now. There are register control and direct addressing and all those other things, but we are not going to do them right now. So that's it. So I will explain how to dim LED later, and I will demonstrate that hopefully at the end of this video. I will give you background information. So with the traffic light LED, you can maybe program, switch on the red LED for like 2-3 seconds, then comes the yellow LED, then the green, then this cycle repeats, right? I think you all know how a traffic light works, so you can replicate that. But this is like closed loop. This does not take feedback from the outside world. Let's say there are maybe no passengers or no one crossing the street, so there is no point of stopping the vehicles then. So if we can maybe fix a sensor under the road and detect if there is a passenger waiting to cross the road, we can then only trigger the red lights and stop all the vehicles on the road. So that is something for you to think. So how actually these things work? Do they take the external environment feedback or do they not? Actually, I think I made my point clear. If there isn't anyone to cross a road, I am just talking about a simple, maybe a simple traffic light system, one with the one we can see near the zebra crossing, right? If there is no one on the zebra crossing trying to cross the road, what is the point of stopping all the vehicles, right? It does happen sometimes, but we can eliminate that. So maybe you can think of that and tell us too. So yeah, that is for the next week. So this is the circuit knowledge you have to learn, and on the way we are going to go deep into these things. And sometimes from this slide on, it might get a little bit complicated if you don't have an electronic background. If so, please do not hesitate to contact us on any way, maybe on the chat, maybe on the Telegram group, WhatsApp, Facebook, or anywhere. Please do not hesitate. Please contact us, and we will help you as much as possible. You can contact me or Hasarinda or anyone from our team. So please do that. So direct current, that stands for DC, right? So it just flows. So this is the voltage level. If we take maybe 3 volt battery, here it is 3. Let me rotate here 3. Maybe if we take a 9 volt battery, it is 9 here. So this is AC supply, alternating current, right? In AC supply we have a voltage that changes its polarity with the time. In our houses, this time is we call it is a 50 hertz signal. So this is like, it takes like from here to here, right? What is the timing from here to here? Anyone? Okay. Yeah, that's too much, I guess. So this is an alternating signal. That means it changes the polarity. With the Arduino, we are just using the DC current, but of course, we can control the alternating current with Arduino. That is not hard. It's really easy actually. Sometimes we do that with relays, MOSFETs, and everything. We can do this thing, but usually we deal with the direct current, and it is much more safer in low voltages, obviously. So this is a direct voltage source. Everyone is familiar with this, right? So this is how voltage is measured. It is like gram kilogram type of deal. You know, the multiply is 1000. So if you have 1000 millivolts, that's 1 volt. 1000 volts, that's 1 kilovolt. We are just going to deal with maybe like 5 volts, 3.3 volts, 9 volts, 12 volts, tops 24 volts. In the AC section, we are going to deal with the mains AC, that's 230 volts. So it's not that much, it's not that hard. So when we go into them, let's do that. So this is the current flow in example. This is how current flows through a resistor. So to measure these things, you have to have specific instruments. So let me turn on my camera and show you how you can think you can see me. So this is with what we measure DC and AC currents. We can see the waveforms here. It's still turning now. Can you see this? Yeah, I think you can. So this is what you call oscilloscope. So with this, you can see the waveforms and maybe manipulate them, right? So yeah, here you can see the graphs. And now this is not connected to anywhere, so it is just doing something. Yeah, we will post some pictures on the Telegram group, so make sure you join our Telegram group. I will post some pictures. So this is with what we see these graphs, right? So many people draw these graphs and do not understand where they get displayed. So, and this is a multimeter, and with this we can measure voltage and current, but it is going to display just the digits, right? Just the numbers. You cannot see a graph with these things. So yeah, that's one thing. Right, thank you for the feedback. So this is the deal with AC and DC current. I think that makes sense. So with current, voltage and resistance, we have to know the Ohm's law. We will go into that in a later session, right? So with a resistor, you have to know the resistance. Of course, you if you have a multimeter, you can measure the resistance. But if you don't, you can count these bands and do some calculation and get to know that. So it's fairly easy. Actually, you can memorize these colors and those values, and if you are going to use them on a daily basis, you get used to that. So let's say you have a red and a brown resistor, so that is 220, right? So it's really easy. For the first two bands, we put the number. For the third band, we put zeros similar to that number. So let me do something. So here, let's take this resistor, right? In the first digit, this is much better, I think. Yeah, let's start from the beginning. So I cannot do all these things right now. So here we have a red band, right? Red represents one. This is the first digit of the first band. So that is two red. Then we have a yellow band. Yellow stands for, sorry, green. Green stands for five. And I think we have maybe orange or brown is orange, I guess. So for orange, it's three. We cannot put three here. We are going to put three zeros. Now ohms, right? So we can divide this by 1000. That is how why I crossed out the three zeros, and this is 25 kilo ohms. I think that makes sense. Okay, screen is not visible. How about now? Can you see the screen? Okay, let me do that again then. Here, this is the first band, first color, so it represents two, right? Then we have a green band, green color here, that is five. After that, we have orange color band that represents three. So we have to put three zeros at the end, and this is 25,000 ohms, but this is a bigger number, so we divide that by 1000 and make that kilo ohms, right? So that is 25 kilo ohms. In this case, yellow is 4, blue is 6, and again for orange you can put, okay, so this is wrong. Maybe the color is different. This is that this should be yellow, I guess. Anyway, so there are apps that can do this, or you can memorize this thing. Or if oh sorry, this is a 5 band resistor, so there is a different technique to read this thing. And if you are not familiar, or if this is too much for you, there are a lot of apps that can do this. ElectroDroid is one familiar one very popular and good app, so you can use that. Or if you have a multimeter, you can just measure this, but it's really handy to memorize these things, right? So these are analog and digital signals. So this is the graph that is displayed on that oscilloscope screen. You can see this thing, and I will show you when we do the practicals. So this is a digital signal. In the analog signal, I want to say this. So there are many different levels with the time, right? So the time starts from zero. Let's say time starts from zero, and let's say it goes to t, right? Same here, let's say the voltage goes up to 5 volts in both cases. So let's say here it is 5 volts, right? So with time, there are so many different levels of voltages. That is why we call it an analog signal, right? In a digital signal, we just have 1 or 0. We do not have any other things like we don't have 4 volts, 3 volts, 3.3 volts. We don't have that. We just have 5 volts, so we do not have 5 volts. That's it. So that is with the digital signal and the analog signal. So this is the binary representation. So that is a little bit of maths, right? We will do them when we do shift registers and stuff. That's not fairly complicated, but really easy to do them. These are the components you need to know. These are jump wires with two metal ending connectors, two metal port connectors. We call that a male to male connector.